Hey everybody, and welcome back to Glowing Card Gaming. Again, I'm your host Adam, and today we're just going to talk about the upcoming game today between the Denver Broncos and the Houston Texans, and the playoff implications and stuff like that. I also want to start off by talking about last week's game versus the Browns. Last week, I think that Denver did something that I'd kind of been hoping for, waiting for, but not sure if they were going to do this or not. And that is basically turn their offense up a notch, just solidify that, make that gameplay, you know, a little bit better. And I hope it gets even better this week. If it does, Denver wins this game. Easy, actually. Um, I don't see why they would. Now, I know a lot of people are picking the Texans and stuff. Since I've been doing these videos and stuff like that, a lot of this stuff has come into my feeds. And one thing I've really come to understand is almost nobody knows what the heck they're talking about. Just plain and simple, I don't know if they're just going along with everybody else or the status quo, or, if they really do believe that or not. But everybody's and people that have actually put predictions of the score today, which I will also do, don't seem to have a firm grasp on what has been happening with the Broncos. Though, to be fair, I'm a Denver fan and I've been watching the games. Now, also to be fair, um, I have to think about, well, am I biased because, hometown views, stuff like that. It could be. Absolutely. I'm not going to deny that. But from what I've seen, and been kind of disillusioned with them over the last 5 years, um, ever since Pat Bowlen passed, and even before that, when he had dementia and couldn't run the team any longer. Really, that's when I think the team started to fall apart, and it really wasn't until um, the new ownership came in, which I wasn't for sure about, but I do agree. Unfortunately, I don't like the way that the NBA or the NFL can just come in and take a team from a group of owners. Uh, that to me shouldn't be allowed to just happen. And granted, both in the NBA and the NFL, there were extenuating circumstances in which, and they were different in each case, in which it caused them to come in and take the team. They didn't do it for just no reason at all. Um, but I think once you own a team, that team is yours. Now you can kick that team out of the NFL unless you could, as the NFL, you could say, or the whatever, the NBA, NHL, MLB, you could say, hey, look, we know you own the team. You can do whatever you want with them, but we're kicking them out of the league unless you get new ownership or something, and do it that way. Um, and I could see that, but I've been watching this team since I was about 6 or 7 years old. Uh, I think I who can they ever say that they're an expert or that they know for sure anything? No one. No one can say that. And I think it's pretty obvious with the talking heads that they're pretty much focused on other teams like the Niners or the Eagles or the Panthers, or well, the Panthers suck. Who am I thinking of? The Lions, or the Baltimore Ravens. That's who I'm thinking of. The Ravens. Um, because those are the teams right now I think have a chance at beating this Denver Bronco team. And not even sure about the Lions so much. We'll find out next week or in 2 weeks. I can't remember when they play them. They're upcoming on the schedule though. That will be a really telling game. But I think at this point, Denver, probably with the exception of that Lions game, Denver wins out. I don't see them dropping any of the games because of the team they have on the field right now and the way they've been playing the last 5 weeks. Now, and I've said this before in the past, that the team or the league generally takes about 4 weeks to adjust to what you're doing. That being said, this is week 6, so we're really going to tell if the Broncos are doing something that the league cannot adjust to, which there are times where you keep shifting and doing different things with your offense and defense. So nobody can adjust to it, because how do you adjust to something that keeps evolving and changing and, you know, and the like. Now, again, there's some criticisms of the defense, those long runs, stuff like that. Maybe during last week against the Browns, you could see that, that there was just this thing where they were really, was it the Browns or was it the Vikings? I can't remember. I should have did this video 3 or 4 days ago. But I was too excited about doing new pick'ems and stuff like that. So I knew I was going to get this video out a little later. I was hoping to get it out before today. Yesterday I had some household chores. I'm not an influencer. I'm not monetized. Guys, subscribe. If I was, and I had, enough money to just do this for a living, then all of the stuff I was doing yesterday would have already been done. And this video would have gotten out like Thursday or Friday. Anyway, like, subscribe, share, blah, 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 blah. All that crap. Where was I? Oh, yes. So last week's game, and I think it was the Browns, right? 29-12. And this relates to what I'm seeing the talking heads talk about for the Broncos in today's game. They are predicting the Texans win, but they also are saying the Texans are going to score 24 to 27 points. That's not going to happen. That's just not the truth. The teams that have been playing Denver barely score 20. I mean, the Browns scored 12, the Vikings scored 20. And you look at the past few weeks where Denver's been on this run, they're not scoring more than 20 points on Denver. It's Denver's offense that wins those games, basically because the defense is holding the opposing team to under 20 points. And in the Browns' case, 12. That's why I'm saying if we were to play Miami today, that's probably an L for Miami. They don't score 70. They don't. Not on this team. Not the one they got right now. Sure, week 2 or 3. Yep. Making those adjustments. Sean Payton, new coach, blah, blah, blah. Still new owner. Still second-year quarterback. Whatever you want to say. However that happened. This team probably plays Miami in the playoffs, and Miami's going home. That's it. It's already in my mind. It's already history. It's already happened. And that's the thing that I saw last week is Denver's offense had improved. You're seeing them on these drives where the drives, even if they get a penalty, which didn't happen, that's even the better part of it. Those drives that had the penalties, which were even less than the drives that didn't have the penalties. So they cleaned that up. So there were less penalties against the offense, 1. 2, even when they had the penalties, those little 5-yarders, didn't stop them. They picked up that next first down and kept moving down the field. That's what I was waiting to see from the offense. And that's why I think they scored 29 points. Granted, the offense scored 27, and they had a late safety, right? Still 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals. I mean, if they score 27 against the Texans today, which I think I've arrived at my final score today already. Now I'm thinking about it. If we continue to see improvement in the offense, like we saw against Cleveland last week, and we continue to see the staunch defense, and this defense is morphing and evolving, it does something different versus every team. So they're game planning the individual team for whatever reason, their individual strengths and weaknesses. And they're making those adjustments, both offensive and defense. And you can see it in the game. They're starting to make really good adjustments in game, and that's what winning teams do. You can clearly see it. You could see it for years in New England. And Belichick, I could see everybody saying this is his last year. I hope they give him at least one more year, because Belichick is really good at making those in-game adjustments and coming out on top when he has the talent to do so. I don't think they have the talent right now. They're garbage right now. So that's the, and you could see why I made the picks that I made the picks this last week. And I still can't believe they have the Broncos as 3-point dogs in this. I think the line shifted. So now they're 2.5 or something like that. So there's a lot of heavy betting on the Broncos this week. Personally, I think the Broncos win this outright, because I don't think the Texans will score more than 20 points. They may score 17. That's where I'm putting them today, at scoring 17 to 20 points. That's it. I think the Denver offense continues to improve, to exploit those gaps. They're getting more confidence. They're committing less penalties. They are evolving to be an elite offense right now. We're not quite there yet, but they could be after today. We'll see what happens. So after all of that, I think you can really see where this is going, and I hope it's for those people who have been following the Broncos and watching the Broncos all season long. I think you can see this. This isn't a hometown bias or anything. This is really what we're seeing on the field. This is the the reality of the situation. Broncos offense is improving. Defense is staunch. Yes, there are gaps and things to exploit in there, but they're adjusting every week. So maybe they were a little weak against the run last week. Maybe they're really tough against the run this week, and you got to pass on. What do you do? And then in game, they make that adjustment on you. So you might have been running well on them, and then all of a sudden you got to switch to passing. Right? They stop you a couple times, go down, score 14 or 10, a touchdown, a field goal, or 2 touchdowns. All of a sudden you're in trouble, and you become, once you get down to the Denver Broncos, you become a very one-dimensional team. If you're down by more than 1 touchdown, you become a very one-dimensional team, because you're going to go to the air passing, and Denver's going to defend that. They're going to bring pressure on the quarterback. They're going to force you to throw early. They're going to cause those incompletions. They're going to, cover those wide receivers very well. The safety will come across and do that double coverage. Sometimes he'll do a spy blitz. Those curl routes can sometimes hurt the Broncos, but even when you get a couple of those, all of a sudden Denver's right there, and instead of it just being a completion, it could actually be an interception. The way those take a little while to develop. As soon as the Broncos start seeing that guy turn to curl in and catch that, they just go right for the reception point, and that could be a pick. And they do that. And they're very good at it. 20 plus 20 in turnovers in the last 6 games, 6 games, plus 20. Russell Wilson and the Broncos offense is not turning it over. So the Broncos get 3 turnovers and the offense scores 13 to 20 points. It's over. It's over. And that's what's been happening. So the Texans, if they are even going to try to win this game, have to protect the ball. If they turn it over a bunch, it's over. There's very little room for error against this Denver Broncos team. And that's what makes them special, and that's what makes them good. All of that being said, let me give you a score. I'm going to go with, I don't think the Texans are as good as the Vikings offense. To be perfectly honest, I just don't think they are. I think they score 17. I'm going to be a little cautious here because I was going to say Denver scores 30. But I'm going to take 3 points off. I think it ends 27-17 Denver. Mainly because I see the improvement in the offense, and I think they're going to continue to improve. But the defense scored those last 2 points last week, not the offense, and you can't depend on that. And I thought, well, maybe they'll score an extra field goal, but it's only one game I saw the improvement in. Let's hold off on really giving them a huge point total, 35, 38, something until they really prove that. So, and I don't think it's very realistic to do that because even with them improving, they are able to move the ball now, and they are able to continuously grind you down both offensively and defensively. So I can't believe that they didn't favor the Broncos the way things have been going. I think that's almost a gimme bet. I mean, if you're betting, don't take this as professional advice or anything. I'm not offering that at all. I'm not a professional sports bookie or bettor or claim to know very much about betting or any of that stuff. I played a lot of slot machines in my life, if that counts. That's about it. Unrelated to sports. So don't take this to heart. But if I were going to bet, I'd bet on the Broncos to win today. I would definitely take them +3. No problem. If you're going to give me 3 points, done. I think they go in and they beat the Texans in Houston. And I'm not even sure this game's going to be all that close. We'll see what happens, because what I have now noticed as well is the Broncos get stronger as the game goes on, although they have a little dip in the third quarter. So if Denver is leading at half, and especially at the beginning of the fourth quarter, it's over. It's over. I don't think anybody's going to come back on Denver in the fourth quarter. Not moving forward, with, again, the exception maybe the Lions, because the Lions are really the only team that I can see being really that good and making adjustments and playing good football against this Denver Bronco team. Now, said all that, people are already talking about playoffs, so I might as well throw my 2 cents in on that at the end of this video. But I'm going to do it with a slightly different way, a slightly different twist on it. Let me grab a drink. I need a little coffee here. My voice is getting out. Okay. So, I think that Denver Broncos definitely make the playoffs. With the lack of strength of schedule for the Chiefs, I think they lose against Green Bay today. But that might be the Chiefs' only loss on the remaining schedule. I'd be shocked if they lost two. But that being said, Denver could win out. So if the Chiefs lose a second game, I think at the end of the season, and again, it keeps, for me, I don't know why, it seems like the end of the season is going to come down in some way between the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders. It's going to come down to that game for the Denver Broncos. Las Vegas will have nothing to lose in that game. They'll go lights out, and they are going to give the Broncos complete and utter fits and problems. And it's going to be, I think, if there's going to be a trap game on the schedule remaining for Denver, that is it. Yeah, I know the Raiders already beat the Broncos the first year, game one. That was a completely different team. Half the defensive starters aren't even here anymore. This is a completely different team. I think if that Raiders team played this Broncos team now, that's a loss. Same thing for the Washington Commanders. That's a loss. Just those two games alone, Denver's leading the division right now. If those two games were flipped. Very winnable, easy games. All that being said, Denver Broncos make the playoffs. They do. That's it. So Denver makes the playoffs. Now, here's the real question. Who within the playoffs can beat the Denver Broncos right now? And personally, I only think there's a couple teams that could do it. Of course, the Eagles at 10-1, they are a juggernaut. I don't see how the Eagles don't give a problem to any team. And I can't believe they are dogs. And I think they're dogs at home against the Niners, which, give me the Eagles in that game. What are you guys doing? Odds makers? Again, maybe they know something I don't, which I said that before, and they seem to have the right call, so could be wrong. So I think the Eagles. And from that side of things, maybe the Niners. I don't think the Cowboys, because the Cowboys are an offensive juggernaut. But I think if the Cowboys played this Denver Bronco team, they get shut down on offense. Defense is going to win that battle, period. And Dallas doesn't really have much of a D. They're just really good at outscoring their opponents. You know, they put up 40 points. And it's hard to beat a team that scores 40 points on you. But this Denver team is really good at stopping teams from scoring a bunch of points. I think once Miami scored 70 on them, they were like, that's it. And they made those changes, and they have that game firmly in the back of their mind and their memory. So I just don't think anybody's going to score a bunch of points on them. Now, could Dallas score maybe 30, 27? Sure. I think they're one of the better teams that could do that. The question then becomes, what happens on the other side of the ball? And being that Dallas has not a very good D, I think the Denver offense wins that battle. And it really comes down to that. Denver's D is so good, it comes down to what's the offense going to do? And I think as long as the offense doesn't turn it over very much and is able to score consistently, they win. That's it. So just thinking about teams on the opposing side, really Eagles and Niners. We'll see what happens with the Lions in a couple weeks as well. So it could be any of those three teams from the NFC side. And the only other one to talk about is the Dallas Cowboys. Those are the four teams on the NFC. I think you're going to see them run deep into the playoffs. One of those four teams is going to the Super Bowl. There's just no two ways about it. And out of those teams right now, it's probably the Eagles. Like it or hate it, that's the way I see it. So then, from the AFC side, who from the AFC could beat the Denver Broncos in the playoffs and prevent them from going to the Super Bowl? Personally, I believe there is currently only one team that could do that. Just one. And that is the Baltimore Ravens. I just don't see any other team in the AFC being as strong or as tough as this Broncos team. I don't think the Chiefs at home beat Denver. Not with what I saw in Denver's last loss, which was, I believe, to that Chiefs team in Kansas City. That was the moment where they were turning that corner. And you could see Kansas City at home, they just didn't play that well. I can't believe we didn't beat them. I mean, our offense wasn't quite there yet. That's the only reason we didn't beat them at home. But when they came to Denver, I think you saw who they were. Again, we'll see what happens against Green Bay this week for the Kansas City Chiefs, but I think that's a loss for them. Beyond that, I think they went out. I think Kansas City wins out only because, I mean, they're playing a bunch of teams that have losing records and teams that just aren't very good. So that's the long and short of it. I think Kansas City is a very good matchup for the Denver Broncos, and it could be a coin toss whether they win or lose. But outright, it's not Kansas City. Baltimore Ravens they could be the only team that outright could beat the Denver Broncos currently. And I hope we get the chance to find out. Because I think Denver's going to the playoffs. I think Kansas City's going to the playoffs. I think Baltimore's going to the playoffs. I think the Cowboys are going. The Niners are going. The Eagles are going. The Lions are going. Beyond that, it's anybody's game. Those other teams are... And the Broncos are going. And that's it, really. I mean, everybody else, you're kind of on the outside looking in, and your teams aren't that good. I mean, there could be a trap game in there, a trap team somewhere that I'm not seeing that really is better than what they're looking like, or they're just turning a corner like Denver did. You know, anything can happen. That's why they play the game. Anything can happen. So we'll see how everything goes. That's pretty much everything I have at the moment. I reserve the right to change my mind at any time. But the score, 27-17 today. I'll get this up because the game's going to start here in about 15 minutes. So this will come out probably during the game because it takes so long for it to upload. All right, guys. Thanks again for tuning in and watching Glowing Card Gaming. Again, I'm Adam, your host. I'll see you next time, and be good to each other.